Hello and welcome to Post to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. And recently, Nashville swept the Chicago Blackhawks, which was a surprise to the hockey world, a surprise to us. And we just thought we'd talk about it. We mentioned it a bit in a few other previous videos. And, we made predictions before the playoffs that did not come true. I thought it would go to a Game 7 with Nashville winning, and you thought that Chicago would win. And nobody predicted that Nashville would sweep Chicago. And my prediction of Nashville winning in 7 was a total fluke. It was just a guess. So there's issues with Chicago. 2 first-round exits in 2 years.
Right.
They came first in the Western Conference this year with the most points. I think by maybe 5 or 6. I can't remember. So we want to talk about this a little bit more. How do we fix Chicago? How does Chicago fix Chicago? So we're going to look at the cap hit. We're going to go through each contract, or not each contract, but we're going to look at all the contracts and talk about certain ones. You're going to give your opinion on what you think they should do as far as management and whatever. So just broadly, I'm going to toss this over to you. What do you think is the main issue?
The main issue to me, and I've said this in a previous video, but I'm going to reiterate it a bit more. To me, the main issue with the Chicago Blackhawks is they've had the same core, same system, the same coach, kind of the same personality on the ice for a very long time. It's basically been 10 years. And to me, they're kind of the Washington Capitals, of the West, because they have the amazing regular season, but right now they can't translate that to playoff success. And to me, a lot of it is because teams just have them figured out now. Because Chicago's been that same identity for so long, they're just 100% figured out. Yeah. And I said in the previous video that they should change the atmosphere a little bit, try to ice a different system. So in order to do that, normally the number one scapegoat is you fire the coach, right? And with a new coach comes a different system, different atmosphere, kind of, a whole different personality. And with that, sometimes you can see a huge positive effect. For example, I almost hate to say it, but it's the first one that popped in my head. What happened, the last 2 times Pittsburgh fired their coach halfway through the season. Yeah. 2009, they won the cup. 2016, they won the cup.
It was Michel Therrien the first time who got fired.
Yeah. And then, of course...
Dan Bilesma.
No, not Bilesma. They replaced him with the other guy.
Oh,
and
right.
And I hated him so much.
Right.
I can't even remember his name. That's bad, but he's a fellow Canadian. He's from Nova Scotia. I'm sorry, bud, but I can't remember your name. But you were replaced, of course. And Pittsburgh went on to win the Stanley Cup last year. So I really thought Chicago would consider it. But at the end of the day, Quenneville is arguably the best coach in the NHL.
Yeah, do you fire the best coach in the NHL?
Yeah, do you fire Quenneville? But instead of Quenneville, what did they do? They fired the assistant coach. So they kind of took a page out of what I was saying to change it up a little bit. So yeah, that's a positive for them, what they did. They're recognizing that, hey, this isn't good enough. We have an elite, group of players here on paper. We look amazing, but we're having no playoff success. And the fact that the Predators took them out 4 straight and with ease, I mean, come on, they beat Chicago in Chicago game 2, 5-0. I mean, that was an embarrassment. To me, the Chicago Blackhawks should be embarrassed about this. And next year, because of contracts, which we'll get into really shortly, their blue line is not going to look the same now because of it.
Yep. If you're a Chicago fan, your team won 3 Stanley Cups in the past 7 years or 5 years or whatever it was.
Nothing wrong with that.
But to see them now, can you be frustrated?
Oh yeah,
if my team won 3 Stanley Cups in the past 5 years, I'm pretty ecstatic.
Yeah, I would still be frustrated because you look at the core guys and they're all still there and they're all still, in my opinion, they're in their prime. So you obviously look at it and say, well, this team should have success. I mean, look at their core that they have. Other teams in the NHL would, my goodness, they'd give up a lot just to have one of these guys. And Chicago is blessed with this much talent in their lineup. They should have been able to do more in the playoffs than what they've done in the last 2 years.
Do you think that Nashville is just that good right now and just that confident in themselves? Or do you think that they did their homework on Chicago and, like you said, they've been playing the same system for so long. Nashville figured out Chicago, and that's why they were able to beat them.
really think Nashville figured out Chicago because, to me, they were just beating Chicago at their own game. And at points, it almost looked embarrassing.
It did.
To me, I think Nashville had it down to a science on how to beat the Chicago Blackhawks, and they executed it to 100% perfection.
Well said.
That's what I honestly believe.
So I just want to look at the cap really quick. And we have a few players who are UFAs and RFAs. And I just want to ask you, what would you do? If you were the GM, what would you do? So the first person we have is Thomas Yurko, who is an RFA after this year, who I think they acquired from Detroit this year. What do you do with him?
It's a cog in the wheel. Guys like this, sorry to say, Mr. Yurko, but I look at a lot of these guys as being more easily replaceable compared to some other guys that are key to the Blackhawks' success. Now, I can't really say success because, man, they haven't had any in the playoffs, right, the last 2 years. But in order for them to continue to be that dominant force, their core guys need to remain. And Chicago's actually had this blueprint for a long time. They have their core guys, and then as guys elevate over their entry-level contracts or shortly after they've been acquired, all of a sudden you look at that guy and say, wow, he deserves a raise, right? Well, Chicago ships him out of town, right? And then they bring in another guy who basically has all the similar characteristics of the guy who just left, and suddenly it's as if he never left, right?
Yeah.
Because
It's impressive.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Andrew Ladd, who was with Chicago and had success. You look at Dustin Bufflin, who had success. Patrick Sharp. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And Chicago's been able to replace these guys and still have success.
Yeah, it's remarkable, actually.
Well, to me, their management, not the coaching staff, I'm just going to specifically state, their upper management, as well as their scouting, could be some of the best in the league,
absolutely,
in my opinion.
Totally agree. So do you make an offer to Yurko, or do you let him trade him or let him fly?
Let him go.
Let him go. Ooh.
Yep.
Richard Panik, or Panik as he likes to pronounce it.
Really? I've always been saying
apparently
Panik.
It is Panik from where he's from.
Really? Okay, well, that makes sense. See, now this is a guy I'd be a little more concerned about.
I'd give him a deal.
Yeah, I honestly think I would
give
as
him
well.
a deal. Yeah, he had a remarkable year.
Yep, he has.
A lot of potential.
Yep.
Okay, next we have Andrew Desjardins, or Desjardins, whatever.
Desjardins.
Yeah, however you want to say it.
It's Francais.
He's a UFA. Do you...
Let him walk.
I let him walk as well.
Let him walk. Yeah. Yep.
Dennis Rasmussen.
Let him walk.
Let him walk. I think I'd make him an offer, but I wouldn't go crazy on it.
And I'm going to tell you why very soon, why I'm letting these guys walk.
Johnny Oduya.
Here's a big reason why I'm letting those guys walk. Johnny Oduya, to me, he's one of those guys you really want to keep around to solidify your depth on the blue line.
Yeah.
Seabrook and Keith can't do it all. And to me, they're two of the best. But when you have a guy like Johnny Oduya back there as well, wow, that just makes you that much more lethal on the blue line.
So he's making $1.87 million last year. What do you offer him, and for how long?
I would really be trying to keep him for about the same. And if you look at his current age, he's 35. So if I'm Oduya, he's probably looking at a 3 to 4 year deal in order to finish out his career. Now it just comes down to him and where he wants to finish out his career. But if he's comfortable with that, Chicago can afford that at 1.8. If they could keep him for 3 to 4 years at that price point, I would do it for a guy like Johnny Oduya.
Yeah, I was thinking 4 years with a front-loaded deal.
Yeah, you'd have to do front-loaded.
And then maybe like round one in the last couple of years. I definitely would keep him. So Brian Campbell.
See, this is interesting, and that's why I was letting some of these forwards saying to the point, oh yeah, I'd let them go. And it's because you have guys like Johnny Oduya and Brian Campbell who are UFAs. These are guys that solidify their blue line, and to me, they are more important than the other guys you mentioned up front, because those guys can be replaced a lot easier than a veteran defenseman like Johnny Oduya and Brian Campbell. So I think Chicago might have to spend a little more and maybe only keep one of them. So the question is, who do you keep? Who would you pick, Oduya or Campbell?
Campbell's 37. He made 1.5 last year. I let him walk. I keep Oduya.
Yeah, I think I'd do the same, just because Oduya is 2 years younger. And to me, at this point in their careers, I kind of give the nod to Oduya.
Yeah, and no knock on Brian Campbell.
He's a very experienced defenseman. But at this point in his career, I think he's just looking for a 2 year deal at max, probably. If he can get more, he'd probably go for it. But at this point, he's probably going to want to hit free agency and see what team really offers him the most.
Exactly. And last we have Michael Kempney, an RFA. He made $700,000 last year at the age of 26. Keep him or let him walk.
See, again, this is almost like one of those cogs in the wheel, right? And I'm sure Chicago has a lot of younger guys that are down below that could come up and really fill this need, because he's not going to be in the top 4 for the blue line, that's for sure. So what would his minutes a game be? Maybe 8, maybe 9. To me, these defensemen are a lot more easy to acquire or perhaps elevate in order to fill these roles.
I'd give him a small bridge deal, I think, but
I'm kind of on the fence with this one, because to me, all the focus should be on Oduya or Campbell, and I think Chicago's going to have to make up their mind which one they want to go after. And to me, I think they're going to go after Oduya.
Yeah, their projected cap space is $8 million.
Yeah, and if they do that, well, there's not going to be a lot left over to sign all these guys. And I know Chicago, they're instantly going to let guys go, because it seems they do it every year, and they're able to bring in almost the exact same player, a clone of the same player, to fill that void. They have an amazing talent at doing that.
So Scott Darling was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes, and now their backup goalie, as listed here, is Jeff Glass. He's 31. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Chicago goes out in this offseason and goes out and gets a better backup than Jeff Glass?
Well, it's very possible, because to me, this trade just puts more stress on Crawford, because to me, with Darling, they had a really good tandem there. Yeah, they really did, because to me, Darling's very...
I think Darling is the best backup in the league. I think he should. I think he should be a starter. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a valid argument. To me, he's kind of underestimated in a lot of ways. He's a phenomenal goalie. Now, this guy, we actually checked up on him a while ago. He has no NHL experience. He has a lot of KHL experience. But to me, that's kind of a different beast in itself. It's not, NHL atmosphere.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean he's a bad goalie.
No, it doesn't. It just means I don't know a lot about him.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, he played in the KHL for numerous years.
Played on Team Canada in the
Stanley Cup. I don't watch the KHL.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I'll be curious to see what he does. But to me, I think this was a preliminary move, and Chicago has something on the back burner that's going to reveal itself.
I think so too.
Once free agency hits, that sort of thing.
Well said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that I guess that kind of wraps up this Chicago situation. If I'm Chicago, I'm still pretty confident about next year. I mean, look at the guys they have. They might have to change their system. If they're not going to file Quenneville, they might have to change their systems up a little bit. Maybe bring in a different special teams coach, something like that. Who knows? They'll definitely change something up, because it's 2 years in a row now. You can't, fool me once, fool me twice.
I'm on board the side that says it's time for Quenneville to hit the dusty trail.
I'd give him another year.
That's just me.
I guess we disagree.
I mean, come on. He's brought that city how much success?
Yeah.
How much more can he really achieve? And to me, after that bounce from the playoffs and 4 straight, and then the year previous not having success, it's really time to do something. With a core like this, you don't blow it up by any means. If somebody has that argument, it's time to blow it up. No, you don't do that with a core like this. That took years to build. And they will have success with that core. It's just to the point now they need to change it up. Can Quenneville adapt and really ice a different looking team next year with the same guys? I think will judge his legacy hugely if he can do that next year. We'll have to wait and see, because obviously Chicago's sticking with him. They fired the assistant coach, and Quenneville remains.
So here's my final question: where does Chicago land next year? How well do they do?
I think again they'll be fighting for top spot in the West. Again, hands down.
Well, that wraps it up. That's our thoughts on the Chicago Blackhawks. We will be doing a full, more lengthy video on the Chicago Blackhawks in the offseason, as well as every other team as well. So definitely look out for those. We're going to recap all
I'm excited
teams.
for that.
Yeah, those are going to be fun to do. We'll look back on each team's season that just went by, review their offseason needs and wants, and look forward to their season upcoming. So that'll be a lot of content for each team. So, we're a channel that talks all teams, all hockey. We don't focus on certain teams. And that's one of the things that excites me about this, is because as a Canadiens fan, I like to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, but I love talking about all the other teams. We're hockey fans first.
Hockey fanatics.
Hockey fans first. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. We really appreciate it. If you're new here and you like this video, hit the like button, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. We'd love for you to join us here. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Adios.